Welcome back to Did You Eat Yet? I'm Victor, and this episode highlights a recent trip to LA. Since I was young, we drive down to LA a couple times every year. Being from the Bay, the drive is only a few hours down the 5, and it pretty much became a tradition to stop at the Kettleman City In-N-Out for a quick break before finishing up the rest of the trip. We have a ton of family in SoCal, so we were always in LA and the 626, and I've fallen in love with a ton of the food down here. People always like to argue about whether the food in LA or the Bay is better, and I'll share my thoughts on that topic a little bit later. But first, let's go eat. In this episode, we're going to be exploring some of my go-to spots in LA and San Gabriel Valley with some tacos, fried chicken, Korean barbecue, smash burgers, and a ton of Asian food. It's always hard to pick where to eat when you're in LA for just a few days, but here's some of my favorites. Near Hollywood on Melrose, Chef Maynard is making some of the best Filipino food I've ever had at Kuya Lord. What started as a pop-up during COVID has evolved into one of the most exciting Filipino spots around. I grew up with a ton of Filipinos and have been with my partner for over a decade now, experiencing so much amazing homemade Filipino food from our family, all the parties, and a trip to the Philippines a few years ago too. I'm 100% Chinese, but damn, I love the people, food, and culture so much. From his own words, Kuya Lord is an elevated fast casual concept by Chef Lord Maynard, featuring regional Filipino dishes that he grew up eating in Lucena City in the Quezon province of the Philippines. While the food harkens back to his childhood, Chef Maynard applies his classical techniques in enhancing and reinventing traditional Filipino dishes. Chef Maynard also just got announced as a semi-finalist for James Beard's Best Chef Award this year. I've had this spot bookmarked since it first opened in early 2022 and was hella excited to finally stop by. When you walk in, the first thing you see is the kitchen fully visible on display. While you're ordering, you can see Chef helming the grill, cooking some meats over the fire. We ordered a little bit of everything off his menu. The hiramasa collar, wood grilled, served with some toyo mansi and chili garlic oil. The blue prawns, cooked in a garlic crab sauce. The lechon kawali, a twice cooked pork belly. And my favorite item here, his signature lucena-chan, a slow roasted rolled pork belly. I've eaten a lot of lechon in my life, and his lechon dishes are undoubtedly some of the best I've ever had. Enjoy with a side of Java garlic rice. This is such a delicious meal. The calamansi juice is hella good too. And we finished our dinner with their desserts, the calamansi pie and the bibingka. Just great bites with familiar Filipino flavors. Is this the spot for the most traditional Filipino food you can get in LA? Probably not, but his recipes are easily some of the best Filipino food I've ever eaten. The menu is well thought out, and you can tell he truly cares about sharing his cuisine with the world. There's a lot of great fried chicken in LA, and I always find myself hitting up Tokyo Fried Chicken. Originally from Monterey Park, they just opened up a new location in downtown LA. In a much bigger space with a nice dine-in experience, I'm excited to see this new location take off. Drawing inspiration from Southern fried chicken and Japanese karaage, Tokyo Fried Chicken fuses the best elements of these two different styles of fried chicken into the perfect recipe. We ordered a few things off the menu, starting with the truffle butter edamame. For lunch, I ordered the 3-piece box with a drum, wing, and thigh. For the sides, we got the soy glazed yams and chicken rice and some of their signature sauces, all hella good. The chicken here is always cooked perfectly. You take your first bite and the skin is crispy, perfectly seasoned, and the meat inside is hella juicy. One of my LA favorites, I always try to make a stop when I'm in town. I got obsessed with smash burgers a few years ago, and LA probably has the largest density of smash burger spots you can find per capita. After trying out a ton of different smash burgers, Win Dow in Silver Lake is my favorite so far. There's a lot of great food in Silver Lake, and I always find myself back here for a burger. Like the name indicates, you order out of a small window. The menu is pretty simple, and outside of burgers, there's also a couple of other items here too. But I'm always here for the double cheeseburger. Flat top grilled with onions, American cheese, pickles, and their house sauce. This is exactly how I like my burgers. I know burgers are always a subjective topic and everyone has their own favorites, but this is definitely my go-to in LA right now. While we're in LA, Mashti Malones is an ice cream spot I always try to make a stop at. For 40 plus years now, they've been serving LA some of the best ice cream you can get anywhere. With flavors drawing inspiration from Persian spices and recipes, everything here is incredible. I'm not the biggest sweets guy, but I can never say no to ice cream, especially from Mashti Malones. My favorite tacos in LA are from Sonora Town. Since 2016, Sonoratown has been serving amazing Sonoran-style tacos out of downtown LA. If you haven't seen my past taco tour videos, Sonoran tacos are some of my favorites in the world, focusing on handmade flour tortillas and carne asada cooked over a charcoal fire. Every time I'm in LA, I gotta make a stop here for some tacos. With a pretty focused menu on Sonoran specialties, I always come here for the tacos and the caramelo. With grilled carne asada, avocado salsa, cabbage, and a salsa roja over their specialty flour tortillas, this is one of the best tacos you can find. The caramelo is basically an even larger taco, with some beans and cheese too. You can also add a smoky grilled poblano too for an extra kick. Sonoratown is delicious, and if I only had time to stop at one taco spot in LA, you'll find me here. Howlin Rays made the perfect chicken sandwich in LA and was at the forefront of the huge wave of Nashville hot chicken sandwiches taking over the world the last few years. Since Howling Rays opened up their first shop in Chinatown, locals and tourists alike have spent hours waiting in that line. I've waited in that line a few times myself, and it was a stop I made every time I was in LA ever since they first opened in 2015. Howlin Ray started service at their new location in Pasadena last year, and this was my first time hitting up their new flagship. Over the years, the menu stayed pretty consistent, with a few new items now available. But I'm always gonna order their original sando, with medium heat. The main reason I've always been impressed by Howling Rays is because they use chicken breast for their sandwiches, and it's always juicy. While tons of other hot chicken spots have opened up everywhere, a lot of them use thighs, which is easier to not dry when cooking. And while the chicken sandwich is iconic, their bone-in chicken itself is hella good too. If I'm not in the mood for a sandwich, I'll grab some wings. The spices are delicious, and it's always really damn good. As for the sides, always gotta get some fries and the collard greens. And here's some of the newer menu items, like the Mario fries, which is their fries topped with all the fixings. And the chicken and waffles, their delicious thighs with some really good waffles. I'm always in the 626, so I'm glad I can get Howling Rays at another location now too. I gotta make a stop here anytime I'm down in LA. I love Korean barbecue. The communal aspect of it, being able to cook for others at the table, and serving food fresh off the grill to them. The little bit of chaos as we try to figure out how to fit all the food we just ordered on the table, as we keep ordering more meats and banchans. While we're in the 626, Thirsty Cow is my favorite Korean barbecue spot in SoCal. For as long as I could remember, getting Korean barbecue was a must anytime we came down to LA. I've eaten at so many different spots around LA, in K-Town, in the OC, around the 626, and this is my favorite right now. You can tell there's a big focus on quality here, even as an all-you-can-eat restaurant. With the premium option at $47, you can easily eat your money's worth. The beef belly is fantastic as something quick and easy to cook, hella fatty, and we just kept this one coming. The hand-cut short ribs were a favorite too, both unmarinated and marinated. And don't skip out on the salts you can ask for on the side. They all add an extra depth to your meats, and it's worth trying. After eating everything on the menu, we were stuffed. I lost count of the rounds of meats we ordered, but I probably gained a few pounds just from this meal itself. And then on the way out, they'll give you some popsicles too. Just a great experience every time I stop by, and my mouth is watering just editing this video. San Gabriel Valley is full of really good Asian food, and Malalo's is a Chinese restaurant I always find myself at when I'm craving good dumplings and other traditional Chinese and Taiwanese dishes. Malalo's has a huge menu, but I'm usually here just for their dumplings and beef wrap. With a huge menu of dumplings, I know I can always order something that'll hit the spot. Their xiaolongbao are really good, and some of my favorites in the area. The first time I ever had a beef wrap was also from Malalo's over a decade ago, and it's always been one of my favorites since. The pork and chive dumplings are my favorite types of dumplings too, so I had to get an order of those. And you can't go wrong with spicy wontons. But since we were having dinner, we had to order some actual entrees too. Some vegetable dishes, because you gotta have some choy, some chow mein for the table, and then finishing up the meal with some fried coconut breads. With a few locations now, Malalo's is always worth a stop for some good Chinese food. Nong Dan is an iconic Korean spot in LA, and it's a frequent stop after a night out in K-Town. Tonight, we're in the Roland Heights location, craving some Korean soups for dinner. Offering some of the best Korean soups you can find, from galbitang to solongtang to some other popular dishes like galbijim, they really showcase some of the diversity and authenticity of Korean cuisine. As with most Korean restaurants, we get the banchan on the table first, with some great kimchi and more. I'm always here for the galbitang, the beef short rib soup, which is served with noodles. It's a traditional Korean soup with a really rich and hearty broth. It's a super comforting meal, and it's always great in the cold weather. And compared to some of the other spots I get galbitang at sometimes, they really don't skimp on the short rib. With a huge menu of soups and other Korean classics, I love this spot. This is one of my go-tos in LA when we crave Korean soups, which is pretty damn often. Before we leave SoCal, we gotta make a stop at Delicious Food Corner, an authentic Hong Kong style cafe with some of my favorite foods to start the day. You can't go wrong with the daily Chinese style breakfast, where you get a bowl of juk with a side of noodles. Always gotta order the peidan soyok juk with an order of the yao tea on the side. Just a classic comfort meal for me. The Hong Kong style milk tea is great too. Just a quick, comforting meal in the 626 before we drive back up to the bay. LA is home to some of my favorite food in the world, and we make this trip a few times every year to visit family and friends. Every time we come down here, we know we're about to eat real good. So let's talk about who has the better food, the Bay or LA? It's an interesting question, and I think there's amazing food in both regions. I'll never outright say that the food in LA is better than the Bay, but there's definitely more options available in LA for my favorite cuisines. And it's just easier to find, and that could be easily explained due to the density and population differences in the different regions. LA has some of the best food I've ever had, and there's so many different areas in SoCal where amazing food is being served. There's certain pockets that are amazing at different things, which are done at a greater scale than the Bay has. Korean food in K-Town, Mexican food all around East LA and Boyle Heights, Vietnamese food in Westminster, Chinese and just various Asian cuisine in the San Gabriel Valley, and just so much more. You go to these places and you know you're gonna find some gems. Thanks for joining me on this trip to LA, and we just barely scratched the surface in this video. We didn't even go to K-Town, the OC, and so many other areas in this trip. Maybe we can explore those areas some more in the future episode, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.